Hello and warm regards from Next IAS team. Welcome to another episode of Daily News Analysis. Topics for today are: first one is PMI or Purchasing Managers Index, second topic is Fluoride Pollution, then topic about the bond yield, fourth topic will be Katchatheevu Island, and lastly AI and child sexual abuse material. So let's start with the first topic of the day. The first topic that we have is manufacturing sector growth. It is in the backdrop that manufacturing activity in India, as measured by seasonally adjusted Purchasing Managers Index, reached an 8-month high of 58.1 in March 2025, according to S&P Global statement. It is relevant from GS paper 3, where it covers changes in the industrial policy and their effect on industrial growth. Also, in prelims, the question on PMI can be asked from you. Now, something about PMI. PMI is a survey-based measure where the respondents will report the changes in the perception of the key business variables compared to the previous month. It is calculated with this formula where P1 is the percentage of answers reporting an improvement, P2 is percentage of answers reporting no change, and P3 is the percentage of answers reporting a deterioration. So it is going to cover all the three: improvement, no change, and deterioration. Now, PMI is also calculated for manufacturing and service sectors separately, and there is a composite index also. Now, in this composite index, we see the scale is between 0 to 100. If the PMI is above 50, it is a good sign. It shows that the business is expanding, that is, manufacturing is expanding. If it is below 0, it is below 50, it is showing that there is a contraction in the manufacturing activity of the country. Lastly, if PMI is equal to 50, that means there is no change in the business activity. So, beyond 50, if it is above 50, that is, it is expansion, that the business is growing, that the economy is also growing. If it is below 50, it is that there is contraction in the manufacturing activity, that the manufacturing is now declining. And if it is at the 50, that means there is no change in the manufacturing activity. Then it is published at the start of each month, and it provides insights, or it helps the current and future business conditions. It helps company decision makers, analysts, and investors. So it gives a picture of that how the economy is working, how the manufacturing activity is working, based upon which the company decisions can be made, the analysis can be done, and the investors can also make their own decisions. Now, if we talk about India, in the last 1 year, we have seen that the PMI for India has been above 50. It was highest in the April last week, that is in April 2024. After that, in May it declined. Then in June it has risen. In July again it was a little decline was there. Then it declined in September. Then in October there was rise in the manufacturing activity. Then in again November and December it was again declining. Then in January it has increased. In February it has again declined. Then in March it has again increased. Now it is at 58.5, which is highest in the last 8 months. Now, based upon this, you can attempt the MCQ here and post your answers in the comment box. Now, next topic is about fluoride pollution. It is in the backdrop that a new government report has stated that in Sonbhadra district of Uttar Pradesh, there have been excess fluoride. Also, the residents have reported that they are getting sicker. Now, this topic is relevant from GS paper 3 in the section Environment, Pollution and Degradation. Also, it is relevant from the general issues on environmental ecology from the prelims point of view. Let's see about fluoride pollution. According to WHO, up to 1 milligram per liter of fluoride in drinking water is the safe level, or it is the optimal level which is allowed and which is needed by the body. However, the upper limit is 1.5 milligram, including India. So the maximum fluoride in drinking water that is allowed is 1.5 milligram per liter. Beyond this, it will lead to fluoride pollution, or it is excess fluoride. So WHO limit says that the desirable limit is 1 milligram per liter. 1.5 is the upper limit, and beyond 1.5 the water is not fit for drinking. So this is about the fluoride content in the drinking water. Now, how this fluoride comes to the groundwater? It actually is found naturally in the groundwater, and the main source is the earth crust. It also enters water by leaching and dissolution of fluoride bearing minerals in the underground aquifers. For example, in Sonbhadra region, granite stone is found, and due to leaching from this granite stone, the fluoride content in the underground water has increased. So that is the reason for fluoride pollution. Now, how do the fluoride affect our body? The first and foremost effect that you find is in the form of dental fluorosis, that is shown in the picture also. It causes tooth discoloration, staining and structural weakening, particularly in the children. Second is the skeleton fluorosis. It leads to bone deformities, joint pains and higher risk of fractures, and in elderly it is very much visible. Then it has neurological effects also. It hinders the cognitive development in children, reduces IQ and causes memory issues. Then thyroid dysfunction, disrupts iodine absorption, potentially causing hyperthyroidism. Then also it affects the kidney. It increases the risk of kidney disorders, especially in pre-existing ones. So it aggravates the kidney disorders. Last is the gastrointestinal issues. Prolonged exposure may result in nausea, abdominal pain and ulcers. So these are the impacts of fluoride on our human health. Then lastly, what are the other groundwater pollutants? So it includes arsenic. For example, the affected regions are West Bengal, Bihar, Jharkhand, Uttar Pradesh, where 90% of the cases are coming out. So it has toxicity and also has cancer risk on the human body. Then uranium, it is affecting 12 states including Punjab, and Punjab is having a very higher rate. So it can cause kidney damage and bone toxicity is also impact of that. Iron, Rajasthan, Jharkhand, Assam are affected by it. It affects anemia, it can cause anemia and organ damage. And lastly, other elements like antimony, cadmium, copper, barium, they also are the cause of groundwater pollution. They can lead to hypertension, liver and kidney damage. So these are the other pollutants which affect our groundwater. Now, based upon the discussion, you can attempt the MCQ and post your answers in the comment box. The third topic we have is bond yield. Now, it is in a backdrop that India's benchmark 10-year bond yield fell sharply by 9 basis points to 6.49% year on year after the central bank announced to buy 80,000 crore worth of bond in April. This is relevant from GS paper 3 economy, as well as it can be asked in the prelims also. Now, before moving ahead, let's see what are the various type of bonds that are issued by the government. First of all, you should know what is a bond. Bond is a document that is issued by the government that you will be paid a fixed amount of interest, and that amount, the full amount, will be paid after a certain amount of time. Now, in the government bonds, they are issued by RBI and they are managed or regulated by RBI. The corporate bonds are regulated by SEBI. So there are basically two types of bonds. One is government bond and second one is corporate bonds. Government bonds are being managed by or they are regulated by RBI, and corporate bonds are being regulated by the SEBI or Securities and Exchange Board of India. Now, next thing is that if you want to invest in the government securities, how you can do it? In government securities, there are two ways in which you can invest. The first way is that you can directly purchase it from the RBI. You can directly go to RBI and you can purchase the government securities. Second mechanism is from the secondary markets, you can purchase the government securities from any other person or any other bank. Earlier, from before 2021, the direct buying from RBI was not allowed. RBI used to sell to the banks, and from the banks we used to buy. So basically, the retail investor, that means we were basically investing from in this secondary market, not in the primary market. Now RBI is allowed for that. So there are now two mechanisms. The first one is primary issuance of the government securities. That is, retail investors can purchase bids as per the non-competitive scheme for participation in primary auction of the government securities and procedural guidelines for the SGB issuance. There is a scheme known as RBI Retail Direct Scheme. UPSC has previously asked question on this also. It was launched in November 2021. It allows individual investors to maintain gilt accounts with RBI and invest in government securities. The scheme enables investors to buy securities in primary auction as well as buy or sell securities through the NDS-OM platform. The second mechanism is the secondary market. What is secondary market? First of all, the bonds will be issued in the primary market, that is directly buying from the RBI. then when these bonds have been bought and you want to sell these markets, those will be sold in the secondary market. So investors can buy and sell government securities on NDS-OM. NDS is Negotiated Dealing System Order Matching. So on this portal you can buy and sell the government securities. It is an electronic, screen-based, anonymous order matching of RBI. So it is being the government securities are being regulated by RBI itself. Now coming back to the main topic, that is bond yield. What is bond yield? Bond yield is the return an investor expects to receive each year over its term of maturity. Now if we go for the mathematical formula, the bond yield is equal to the annual coupon rate divided by the bond prices, that is the current market price. So based upon the current market price, what return you are getting is known as bond yield. Now let's go a little bit detail in this part. For example, you are buying a bond. Now the bond may be having a face value of 100 rupees and the coupon rate is the interest rate that entity is going to pay you. जो भी बॉन्ड आपसे ले रहा है वो जितना आपको कूपन रेट देगा या इंटरेस्ट रेट आपको देगा उसे हम बोलेंगे कूपन रेट. So for example, they are paying you 10%. So you will be getting 10 rupees in the first year. You will be getting 10 rupees in the second year also because the coupon rate is fixed. In the third year also you are getting 10 rupees. In the fourth year also you are getting 10 rupees. And for example, this 100 rupees bond for only 5 years. So in the last year you are getting 10 rupees plus 100 rupees that you have invested already. So every year the coupon rate that you are getting is rupees 10. That is the interest that you are getting on the bond. But next year it is a possibility that the bond prices may increase or decrease. For example, you have brought this bond and you are now selling this bond in the secondary market. The price have dipped to 90 rupees. Now if the price have dipped to 90 rupees, that means the bond yield is going to increase. Why? Because the coupon rate is 10 rupees, जो हमने अभी देखा, and the bond price is 90 rupees. So this rate has actually increased to 11%. So bond yield has actually increased to 11%. If we see in the first year the bond price was 100 rupees and the coupon rate that you were getting was 10 rupees. So for the first year the bond yield was 10%. So if there is decline in the bond prices, the bond yield is going to increase. Why? Because bond yield is inversely proportional to bond prices. So any activity that leads to decrease in the bond prices is going to help in increasing the bond yield. And reverse is also true. If for example the bond prices rise to 120 rupees, then the bond yield is going to decrease, because you are going to get a fixed amount of 10 rupees as an interest and the bond price has increased to 120 rupees. Now the bond yield has actually decreased. So with increase in bond prices, the bond yield decreases. With decrease in bond prices, the bond yield increases. Now if we see the current news that we have, that RBI is going to buy 80,000 crore rupees worth of bonds from the market. When the government is increasing the money supply, or you can say when the government is creating a demand for the bonds, when the demand for the bonds is increasing, that means the bond prices are going to shoot up. Simple demand and supply law that we have studied. If demand for a particular entity increases, the prices are going to shoot up. So if the demand for the bonds is increasing, that means bond prices are going to increase. If the bond prices are increasing, that means the bond yield is going to decrease. So due to RBI's decision of buying 80,000 crore worth of bonds, the bond yield is going to decrease because the bond prices are going to increase. Okay. Now second thing you can say, for example, the money is going out of India. When the money is going out of India, the demand for the bonds is decreasing. When the money, for example, due to Trump's decisions, there was outflow of capital from India. Now, when there is outflow of capital from India, the bond demand is decreasing. If bond demand is decreasing, that means bond prices are also decreasing. If bond prices are decreasing, that means the bond yield is going to increase. So, you should remember this particular figure regarding the bond yields. It is a seesaw arrangement. If the bond prices increase, the bond yield decreases. If the bond prices are declining, the bond yield increases. That is the simple funda that you should be knowing. Now, based upon the discussion, you can attempt this MCQ visible on the screen and post your answers in the comment box. The fourth article that we are having is about Katchatheevu Island. It is in the backdrop that Tamil Nadu Assembly passes a resolution to reclaim Katchatheevu Island from Sri Lanka. It is relevant from GS paper 1 and GS paper 2. GS paper 1 where it is relevant from the mapping point of view. You should be knowing the location of the Katchatheevu Island. Second is from GS paper 2, it is important from the international relations between India and Sri Lanka. Now, why Tamil Nadu has raised this issue? The issue is basically pertaining to fishermen. Because going off Katchatheevu Island to Sri Lanka actually increases the maritime boundary of Sri Lanka. Due to increase in the maritime boundary of the Sri Lanka, often the fishermen are crossing the boundary, maritime boundary and entering into the space of Sri Lanka, and that's why they are being persecuted also. There have been multiple cases in which the fishermen have been arrested and they have been imprisoned also. Now, if we see the location of this Katchatheevu Island, this is located 10 miles from the Rameshwaram on the Indian side and 9 miles south of the Delph Island of the Sri Lankan side. This red spot is the Katchatheevu Island and this is the Rameshwaram Island of Rameshwaram point of India. Now, there has been a history with the Katchatheevu Island. If we go back into the history, we find that this in 1605, Ramnad Principality was established by Nayak dynasty of Madurai. Now, this was established. Now, there have been a copper plague of one of the rulers, Kuthan Situpati, which confirmed that the ownership of the Katchatheevu Island was with the Ramnad Principality. Then in 1767, Dutch East India Company took this island on lease. In 1822, British East India Company took this island on lease. So after Dutch, Britishers took this on lease. And this lease actually continued till 1936, in which the British lease over Katchatheevu Island expired. Between this, if we see, in 1880 and 1885, there have been registered lease deeds which include Katchatheevu Island as a part of Ramnad estate. In 1913, Raja of Ramnad leases right over Katchatheevu Island to British government again. In 1921, Indo-Sino-Lease negotiations established an informal fishing line west of Katchatheevu Island. So in 1921 itself, a informal fishers line was established which was west of the Katchatheevu Island. That means it was towards the Indian side. Then in 1922, Imperial Records Department reported confirms India's historic events. Then in 1947-48, lease granted to Diwan of Ramanathapuram, reaffirming India's control. And in 1956, India and Ceylon begins talks over dividing their maritime boundary. In 1968, Sri Lanka intensifies its claim, linking Katchatheevu to the Jaffna diocese. Then in 1974, India ceded the Katchatheevu to Sri Lanka under the Indo-Sri Lanka Maritime Agreement. So this have been the history of the Katchatheevu Island. Now in 1974, let's see what events have been there. Between June 26 to 28, in 1974, India and Sri Lanka boundary agreement was signed between the then Prime Minister of India, Indira Gandhi, and Shirima R.D. Bandaranaike. So between the Prime Ministers, this agreement was signed. And according to this agreement, there was a demarcation of the boundary from Park State to the Adams Bridge. This boundary line lies 1 mile west of the uninhabited Katchatheevu Island. It was on the Indian side. Then there was a joint statement that was also issued. This joint statement defined the boundary based on the historical evidence, legal principles and precedents. So based upon these three, this legal boundary was actually given the acceptance by the two countries. Now this issue have been raised multiple times because many times Tamil Nadu fishermen have been crossing into the maritime boundary of the Sri Lanka. That's why in 2013 itself, the government informed the Supreme Court that retrieving Katchatheevu from Sri Lanka did not arise as no Indian territory was ceded. So in case of any secession of Indian territory, there has to be a Constitutional Amendment Act. So this Union government in 2013 submitted to Supreme Court that the retrieving Katchatheevu from Sri Lanka did not arise. There is no need to retrieve Katchatheevu from Sri Lanka because there has been no Indian territory that was ceded to the Sri Lanka. It stated that Katchatheevu was a disputed area between British India and Ceylon, and the boundary issue was settled in 1974 and 76 agreements. Again in December 2022, in Rajya Sabha, the government reaffirmed that Katchatheevu lies on the Sri Lankan side of the India-Sri Lanka International Maritime Boundary Line. So, Indian government has accepted that Katchatheevu is a part of Sri Lanka. However, it has also stated that this matter still remains sub judice in Supreme Court. Now, why this matter has gone to Supreme Court? This matter has gone to Supreme Court because of the Berubari case of 1960. In this Berubari case, the Supreme Court noted that Article 3, which allows any diminishing of the boundary or increase in the boundary of any state, does not amount for the secession of Indian territory. Secession का क्या मतलब है कि हम किसी को वो territory दे नहीं सकते. So there has been a Nehru-Noon agreement in 1958 which allowed division of Berubari between India and Pakistan. And कुछ part पाकिस्तान को दे दिया गया. So on basis of that, this Berubari Union case went to Supreme Court, and Supreme Court said that Article 3 says that you can increase or decrease the boundaries of a state. You can create a state, you can remove a state, you can create a new state, you can divide a state, but you cannot cede any territory of India from India to any foreign nation. And this Nehru-Noon agreement amount for secession of the Indian territory to Pakistan. So that's why in Berubari case it was decided that if it has to be done, it has to be done through a Constitutional Amendment Act under Article 368. So a Constitutional Amendment Act is required if we want to secede any territory to any foreign nation. So the Supreme Court ruled that ceding Indian territory requires a Constitutional Amendment Act under Article 368. Again, there was 101 Constitutional Amendment Act of 2015. That is important here. Why? Because there was a India-Bangladesh land boundary agreement in which 162 enclaves were exchanged. 111 enclaves were given to Bangladesh and 51 enclaves were given to India. That were as 1974 agreement and 2011 protocol. So due to this Berubari case, the 9th Constitutional Amendment Act came into being and the 101 Constitutional Amendment came into being. So the problem here is with the Katchatheevu Island is that it has been given to Sri Lanka and some are saying that it amounts to secession, that we are giving our part. Whereas government says it was a settlement of the international boundary, so nothing was given because Katchatheevu was not a part of India itself. So this is the whole issue about. Now you have to attempt this MCQ and post your answers in the comment box. Now it's time for editorial analysis. The topic we are having today is AI and child sex abuse material. Now it is in the backdrop that International AI Safety Report of 2025 warns about AI's role in generating, distributing CSAM, while NCRP report of 2024 April records 1.94 lakh cases of child pornography cases under the CCPWC scheme in India. It is relevant from GS paper 1, GS paper 2 as well as security point of view. So basically we are going to here see how AI can be used in child pornography, how AI can enhance or augment the child pornography problem that the society is facing. So let's dwell into that. The first thing that we need to, what is the data, what are the reports? The first one is AI powered CSAM report. The International AI Safety Report of 2025, it warns about the increased risk of AI being used to generate, possess and distribute CSAM. So AI or artificial intelligence is having a role in all the three parts. It can generate the child pornography, it can possess the child pornography, and it can distribute the child pornography. So it can actually aggravate the problem of child pornography. Then next is rising child pornography cases in India. Already in India, according to NCRP or National Cyber Crime Reporting Portal, under the CCPWC scheme, it has said that last year 1.94 lakh incidents of child pornography were reported, and there were many cases that were not reported at all. Now let's see how the AI can affect in this regard. First of all, it can lead to creation and distribution of explicit content. Its role in creating new content. Creating new content, the role of AI is very, very prominent. For example, it can create deep fake child abuse material. It can create new videos, it can create new images of child pornography. So that is a challenge for us. Second thing is AI generated synthetic child pornography. The pornography created by AI may be fictional, but it is more or less related with the real life. So that creates a problem for the legal framework also. There are no provisions according to which we can actually tackle this thing. So that becomes a problem for us. The second problem is the modification and enhancement of CSAM. Already a lot of child pornography is there in the market, in the we can say in circulation. So जो already child pornography society के अंदर circulate हो रही है, with the help of AI, there can be video and image enhancement of that. उस वीडियो और इमेज एनहांसमेंट की वजह से इट कैन बी रीसर्कुलेटेड एंड इट कैन बिकम अगेन वायरल. So it is again a new problem that the AI can create for us. The next problem is face swapping technology that the AI is having. Face of one child can be replaced with the face of another child. So it is generating a new content by using the previous content and with new you can say new victims in that. So that becomes another problem कि AI को इस तरह से भी यूज किया जा सकता है चाइल्ड पोर्नोग्राफी में. The next thing is scaling and automation exploitation. From the social media, the AI can actually scrap out the pictures, and those pictures can be used by AI for generating new content or for using its by using its face swapping technology and generating the new content with the new faces. Then automated targeting and blackmail can also be done. It can go for phishing, which can be driven by AI and can coerce the minors into producing explicit content. So that is also a problem with the AI कि अब किसी की जरूरत नहीं है, AI को आप ऑटोमेट कर दीजिए ना, AI अपने आप से करता रहेगा उस चीज को. Then grooming and exploitation of minors, वो कैसे होगा? Chatbots and AI assisted grooming can be done. AI powered bots can impersonate children or adults to manipulate and exploit minors online. Online children को हो सकता है कि वो दूसरा they can impersonate as another child of another gender, and they can actually coerce the minors to go for exposing the exploit this content. तो उसमें भी वो कर सकता है. Then automated language models for grooming. It can generate convincing conversations to deceive children into engaging explicit behavior. So that can also be a problem with respect to AI. The next is evasion of law enforcement. Automated anonymity tools can be used. ऐसे tools जिसमें कि the AI enhanced VPNs can be used, deep web tools can be used, जो कि evasion में help करेंगे offenders को. क्योंकि अभी भी जो गवर्नमेंट एजेंसीज के पास या लीगल एजेंसीज के पास की टेक्नोलॉजी है, उनको पकड़ने के लिए दोज टेक्नोलॉजी विल बिकम रिडंडेंट बाय यूज ऑफ AI. देन द कंटेंट जनरेशन कैन बाईपास द डिटेक्शन एज वेल. कि कंटेंट जनरेशन विल बी इन सच ए मैनर कि जो ऑलरेडी ऑटोमेटेड टूल्स हैं वो उसको डिटेक्ट ना कर पाए तो एआई उसमें भी कहीं ना कहीं रोल प्ले करेगा. एक तो एनोनिमिटी बढ़ाने में, सेकेंडली इन जनरेशन ऑफ अ कंटेंट which can bypass the detection system that we are having in place. And lastly, legal and ethical implications are also there with respect to AI. It will become very difficult for the legal enforcement agencies to pinpoint कि कहाँ से ये rise हो रहा है और कहाँ पे इसको किस provision को use यहाँ पे किया जाए. So from where it is arising and what provision should be applicable there. Lastly, it actually blurs the boundaries in the regulation. So AI can actually play a very, very pertinent role in augmenting the child pornography, which can become a very, very big problem for our society. These points can also be directly used in pornography part also. So the points will remain same. You can use either in the child pornography or in the pornography itself or sexual content itself. Then next, what are the legal regulations that we are having? The legal framework that we are having is at the global as well as the Indian level. So first of all, let's see what new steps have been taken. So if we talk about the new steps, UK is actually trying to compete with the coming problem. We see the history of that. There was a Protection of Child Act of 1978. Under this act, it criminalized the taking, distributing and possessing of the indecent photograph or pseudo photographs of a children. So the focus was on who is doing, we are going to capture him. Secondly, Corners and Justice Act of 2009. Now it criminalized the possession of the prohibited image of child, including non-photographic material. So it actually criminalized both the things. Firstly, if you are involved in creation or you are involved in possession, both are criminal acts. Now third, they have moved one more step. One more step is United Kingdom's upcoming laws of 2025. It is criminalizing the possession, creation and use of AI tools to generate CM. That means if you are even having the tools which can create CSAM, then also you are going to be prosecuted. So that means it has now pinpointing to the root cause itself. Now what are the other mechanisms? There is India's IT Act and US Earn IT Act, which holds tech companies accountable for failing to prevent CSAM dissemination. So tech companies like Google, Microsoft, they will be responsible. The Google and Microsoft are already having their own policy. They block AI from generating realistic images of minors to curb deepfake CSAM. Then there are parental guidance on the AI risk. There are various schemes going on, various mechanisms going on, which are actually having digital literacy programs to help parents monitor children's online activity and interactions. And lastly, We Protect Global Alliance is there, which is an international coalition working to stop online child exploitation and AI facilitated CSAM. Then in India, what legal framework we are having? First of all, we are having a section 67B of IT Act of 2000. It punishes publishing, transmitting sexually explicit content involving children in electronic form. So the first conviction will be up to 5 years, 5 years imprisonment and 10 lakh of fine. Subsequent conviction will be of 7 years imprisonment and 10 lakhs of fine. Then in the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, we are having two sections, section 294 and section 295, which relates with obscene material distribution and obscene content and children. Next we are having is POSCO Act, or Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act of 2012. It talks about cyber grooming, use of children for pornography, storage of children pornography, sexual gratification, mandatory reporting of the offences and obligation on the entities to report. So there are various sections that have been mentioned in POSCO Act. Now we are already having a mechanism, but we need to upgrade it also. For example, NHRC has recommended in October 2023 that to combat CSAM, first of all we need to make changes in the definition of the POSCO Act, where it defines about child pornography. Now instead of child pornography, we should use child sexual abuse material for broader legal coverage. Secondly, clarify the sexually explicit under IT Act, which define the terms in section 67B to improve the real-time identification and blocking of CSAM. Then it says that include more entities under IT Act. For example, extend the definition of intermediary to cover VPNs, virtual private networks, cloud servers, making them legally accountable to CSAM compliances. And lastly, addressing the emerging tech risk, for example, that we have discussed in this topic itself. Amend laws to tackle the threat from new technologies. For example, UK is now doing. Then India should also adopt the UN Draft Convention, which supports, which is on the countering the use of information and communication technology for criminal purposes to strengthen global efforts against CSAM. And lastly, India should implement the Digital India Act, which is in the draft stage, that the proposed Digital India Act of 2023 should replace the outdated IT Act and should include provisions targeting AI generated CSAM, taking inspiration from UK legislation. So with this, we complete the discussion for the mains topic also. Now you can attempt this mains question and you can post your answers in the comment box. I hope this discussion would have been helpful for you. Thank you.